and welcome to Mums at the Table, where we talk about all things family and life. Well, today we've got some food topics to digest, and I'm going to be chewing the fat with these lovely ladies. Let me introduce the specials on the menu today.
Oh my goodness.
That was all for you, Shona.
Oh, thank you.
We've got Shona, Mary Ellen and Julie.
Hi.
Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Now, excited that we've got food today?
Always.
Yeah.
We
I
all
thought
love
you
food.
would,
because you
Always
really love
food.
your food.
I love my food.
She does love her food. Well, coming up on the menu today, we talk to Sydney food stylist and recipe developer Jacob Leung about how to uncomplicate food by making it easy, quick and oh so stylish. And keeping with the food theme, what do you say to restaurants that are wanting to ban kids on electronic devices? And mealtime wars, how do you get your food into a fussy eater? But first, is overscheduling kids a positive or a negative? Now, we all want the best for our kids and we want them to have opportunities and experiences that enhance their lives. But how much is too much? So where do you draw the line to give your child the right balance between boredom and organised activities? And does it actually matter if they are overscheduled? Are we creating a life that is just too busy and stressed for our kids, Shona?
Yeah, I think so. And I was thinking back to the answer to your question. I think if your kid falls asleep and is mashed potatoes, then you're overscheduling.
No, because then you might have a good sleep at that night.
That's true. Yeah, no, honestly, I think we are overscheduling. We want our kids to be doing lots and lots of stuff, but did we do that as adults, as children? I know my mum would say to me, get out in the back paddock and go and find a stick and play with it.
Yeah, but you were still occupying your time.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to say what is overscheduling though, because it's different for every child, and some children like to be really busy and some really don't.
Yeah, they
what
do.
worries, the thing that concerns me is if we're not keeping them busy, and I'm not saying too busy because I think they need quiet time, what are they doing in that time when they're not busy? Are they sitting there contemplating, or are they on their screens
They're on their
more?
screen. Well, that's the thing.
And that's the concern, like it's finding that balance. What are we doing in the times if they're not busy?
Okay, so Julie, what did your kids do growing up? Was it
They didn't
swimming?
have screen time because it wasn't around. But what I tried to do is I tried to give them one music and one sport.
Right, okay.
So that was kind of how I did it. So I think that was busy enough.
Yeah, my mum did too.
yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
But I think there's a lot of pressure on parents today because they think their kids are going to get left behind.
They're not
If
achieving
they,
enough.
yeah, if they
Yeah.
miss out on
Keeping
something.
up with the Joneses'
Yeah.
opportunities, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But how do you feel? Like you're in your last year of uni. Do you feel overscheduled?
Oh, hell yeah.
But is that your fault?
It's my own fault. And I don't know whether that stems from being overscheduled as a child, whether
Were
that's
you overscheduled
a
as a
natural
child?
tendency. I would say for some years I was overscheduled, but at the same time I liked it. Like it wasn't a problem for me, but I think it becomes a problem when the parents are investing so much but the children don't actually enjoy it.
Okay, well, see, my issue, and I'm with you, there's got to be a balance. It looks different in each family, but for each child, they're all so different, and one might be really energetic and might need all of those activities, and a parent might be at work. They might
What's
not
wrong
be
with
around.
a backyard and a soccer ball?
Because if a parent's at work till extended hours, they need something organised and responsible for their kids to be involved in.
Yeah, and I
don't
think
they?
that's why a lot of parents are scheduling these things. But what I am concerned about is what about the parents who can't afford all these things? These things are really expensive. And, you know, if they're worried that their kids are getting left behind because they can't do things, you know, what about the parents that can't afford all these things?
Well, that's true, but I mean, there's after-school care. Is that an activity? Is that overscheduling? Because that's just as stimulating, and it's not with the family, it's not at home, it's not boredom. So what do you consider overscheduling? Is it just activities that you do, extracurricular activities? I mean, is it better than screen time?
I think too, children need to have boredom. They need to be bored because otherwise they're not stimulating their own thought process. They're not reflecting back on things they've done or things they've read or anything like that. If you're just go the whole time, when do they actually have that quiet moment to digest themselves?
And then the coping mechanism as an adult is just to make yourself really, really busy because you can't actually be alone.
Yeah.
And
Or you're
And I
not
think we as
comfortable with your
adults
own
do that as
thoughts.
well. It's a problem that goes into adulthood. How many of us are overscheduled?
Well, that's right. And I think I love the model that Jesus set, and he was saying, you know, be still.
Yes.
That was something that he really emphasised, and he often took time out to spend alone time with his Father and just reflect on his thoughts.
So we need to be educating our children to have some quiet time, whether that's before bed or at some point
It's a really
of the day.
healthy thing to
It
be
is
able to
healthy.
do.
Remember when my kids were little, they would say, "Mum, I'm bored." So I would go, "Bored people are boring people."
Yep, I think that's a good way to end this topic. Good reminder for us. Well, the right balance is different for each child and family, and it's certainly not a black and white issue. But let us know how you handle your family activities and overscheduling. What do you think is right, and how does it work in your family? Jump onto our social media. We'd love to hear from you. Well, some of the great childhood memories are those of sitting around the dinner table and talking and laughing with our families. But would the very young generation of today be able to say that of their tomorrow? TheConversation.com reported that 47% of families are using mobile phones at the dinner table, and this can be especially true when dining out. So how engaged are you with your kids when you go out to a restaurant? I guess when you probably took your young boys out, there was not necessarily the option of electronic, but there would have been drawing and something else to occupy their time. Is that an option you gave them?
Not at our table. No, look, and our kids never went out at a really young age. They were probably mid-primary school before we could, one, afford it, and two, they behaved enough at the table for us to be able to do it. But, yeah, I did take things for that moment of boredom because for us it was date night. We didn't have people to look after our children, so we wanted time to be able
We're trying to do
balance
two things. Yeah.
But I look at kids today, and even at my children today, and when they're at a restaurant or they're anywhere, they're on their phones, and I'm like, we've lost that art of communication.
Yep, well, there's a restaurant that said, hang on, we want you to ban electronics with your kids or virtually go home, you know, and they wanted people to engage with their food and engage with each other and their families. What do you say to people or to restaurants who've done that?
I wonder if that affected their bottom line. It'd be interesting to know whether they, you know,
Pretty bold thing to do, isn't it?
It's very brave. I saw a picture in that article where the kids had actually scribbled all over the table, and as they walked out, the parents just went, "Oh, kids will be kids." Which is pretty horrifying.
It's a pretty lax approach and responsibility.
Yeah, I'd be very embarrassed.
I'd be very embarrassed.
I think I used to, you know what, we were the same as you. We didn't eat out a lot when our kids were little. I think people generally didn't eat out as much, you know, going back that time.
I think today it's a lot more
People
common
eat
for
out a
people
lot,
eat
and
out
people
regularly.
will eat out more than they'll go to each other's homes. We would go to each other's homes.
Yeah.
So the
Yes.
kids could, you know, run free and do all that
Come
sort
out in
of
the
thing.
backyard. Go!
I know, but I guess
Yeah.
there's that break involved when you go out. You're not necessarily doing the cleaning up or messing your house or all of those things, and that to time poor people, that would be a real asset.
But it also goes to show how intentional you really have to be, because I know a lot of families, not even when they're eating out, but just at home, they watch TV during dinner time. Like, that's been my family situation for many years, you know. And so I think to the core issue here is, are we teaching our kids the interpersonal skills, the ability to enjoy pleasant silences, to you know, actually make small talk and
Connect and talk about each other's day.
Yeah.
Like you would at home. So the same rules at home as in the restaurant.
When our kids were little, we made Friday night was the family night. Everyone stayed at home, did dinner, we cooked, we had something special, and it was the time that we all sat and talked for a long period of time. And it was a routine that I had growing up, and I loved that because it was so special. I really wanted my kids to have that, and the things that we used to talk about around that table, I'm so glad we had that opportunity to do, and the kids remember those things really.
So I wonder
precious
what it's
times.
going to be like for the next generation who don't have sitting around the dinner table, who don't know how to communicate. The only thing they've got is a mobile phone and a tablet. Are we setting our kids up for failure in
I feel like that's
families
a
and
big
relationships?
stretch. I feel like that's an exaggeration. I think there are still plenty of people who talk at home and have their family dinners, but when they go out, they also don't want to disrupt the people in the restaurant and use phones as probably something to keep the peace in a restaurant. I mean, you'd go out a bit, so, I mean, is it annoying when little kids are there running amok?
Oh, look, it depends on the situation, but yeah, I'd say most people find it.
Well, taking kids out for dinner might stuff up the family date, but Gia and her kids are in their own home making stuffed dates of a positive kind. Take a look.
Okay, so what are we making?
Stuffed dates.
Stuffed dates. Are we going to stuff them with you? Are we going to put you inside the date?
No.
No, you don't want to be in the date so Mummy can eat you all up. Yum, 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 yum. No. Oh, okay, maybe not. But I have an awesome lunchbox idea for you, for your family and for your kids. It's stuffed dates, but the way these dates are stuffed are really different to the usual stuffing people get, which is with nuts and cinnamon and seeds. Yes, you can. What do you want to say?
And don't forget the cucumbers.
The cucumbers, there's stuff with cucumbers. So the recipe I got was from this book, Vegan. It's written by Kyra DeVries. And we've got 10 of these and we're handing them out to the viewers. So if you want one of these 10 cookbooks, please email us at hello@mumsathetable.com. But we're going to make one of a recipe so you can see how awesome they are. Now, in this recipe, we've got almond butter, we've got cucumber, fresh lemon juice, lemon zest, and salt. And we are going to put it all in there. Oh, you heard a bunny rabbit. Well, I'm going to put it all in here and then I'm going to ask you to do something. There we go. So we'll put the almond butter in there.
Yeah, can I have a lick?
A lick of it? Oh, not yet. It has to all go in there first. Cucumber, the lemon juice, fresh lemon juice. Then in here I've got the rind and the salt. So just the rind, the lemon rind and the salt. And now what do we do next?
Mix it.
Good work. What do we do, Liz?
Mix.
Okay, so can you stir it all in together? It has to all mix through the almond butter. This is going to be pretty cool.
You stir
with
like
the sweetness
this.
of the date. Oh, yeah, that's it. You got it. Whoa. And so it's all mixed through. So we've got all the flavour mixed. So this is what the stuffing looks like.
I'm going to have a tea puppy now.
This is the first time I've made it, so this is exciting. Oh, I love stuffed dates, so for me, this is just like awesome. So you can put this in the kids' lunchbox or your own lunchbox for that 3:30 IDAS time. Put a bit of mint through there. Oh, look at those stuffed dates. That is just awesome. I'm going to stuff a couple more. Remember, write an email to hello@mumsathetable.com. Don't miss out because these cookbooks are awesome. I've already put my hand up for one of them, so that's, well, there we go. And there's your stuffed dates. We're going to keep going, but we'll see you next time. Do you want to help me stuff them?
The Australian government has the well-known message that young kids should be eating 1 serve of fruit and 2.5 serves of veggies a day. Seems pretty reasonable to us as parents, but if you are a 2-year-old, game on. To assist parents, there are literally hundreds of articles and books on when, how, why and what kids should be consuming. Nikki Duffy wrote about mealtime wars in Mums at the Table magazine, and she says parents can be robbed of their self-confidence in the process of taking all this information on. There is a lot out there, but I think what really killed me was the fight with the kids just for that phase of their life where they wouldn't eat what I said they were going to eat. Shona, did you have fussy eaters?
Yes.
What did you do about it?
Made them eat it.
Oh, she cracked the whip.
Open their mouths and stuff it in their mouths.
Literally, and I've said this on this program once before, our eldest one would not eat. And yeah, would close his mouth. I would squeeze his nose. Sorry about the child abuse. I would squeeze his nose.
Nothing my parents' generation didn't do.
Squeeze his nose. When his mouth opened, I would put the food in. And the little one would sit there and watch. And whenever the spoon came to him, he went.
And so what are they like today?
They are great eaters. They will try everything and anything.
You know what? I was nothing like that in that.
I hope not.
Who would have thought? Who would have guessed it? But I didn't want to make mealtimes a wartime, but I didn't want my kids to be fussy eaters either. And I wasn't going to prepare 2 meals. You know, you work all day. There's no way you're going to come home and do 2 meals. So I just would say, here's your food. Take it or leave it, basically. You know,
Yeah,
and
okay.
if they didn't eat it, they didn't eat it. And but I wouldn't say, oh, okay, you didn't like that, I'll give you this.
So it didn't stress you out mealtime with your kids?
No, and I don't think any kid's ever going to starve because they don't like broccoli.
Well,
or
that's the thing. That's the thing. It just boggles my mind. I guess I'm not a parent, so I don't understand the struggles of this, but why it is such an issue, because
Yeah.
I don't know of any children that are fussy eaters that haven't turned out okay, you know?
Yeah, my kids will eat everything now too.
Yeah.
Because we are getting these messages from so many people, from experts, from GPs. They've got to have this amount of nutrition. They've got to have this amount of food. They should be putting on this amount of weight. And the pressure to make sure you're hitting all those milestones, you're like, heck, I'm
Blame
not
the
getting this
internet.
right.
But it also depends where your war zone is.
Yeah.
For me, I couldn't care less what my kids wore. They could go to school in the nude. Wouldn't worry me.
I don't
Still
think she
might
means that.
But they had to eat. I mean, I had a child who we had to be very weight conscious with because he was so ill in the beginning. So he still doesn't meet the milestones of weight and everything else. So we were very conscious of what food he was eating. So that was my war. Food has always been my battleground.
See, I took on the pressure of what the experts and all the books said, and to me that was a foolish thing to do because I created a battle, I created a war for my kids that they didn't need to have. And I agree with you, yes, eat what's on your plate, I'm not making you another meal, you know. But at the same time, I don't think it needed to be the battle that it was. I don't think I needed to say to them, you will eat that or you're going to have it for breakfast. I don't think I set up a great relationship with food for them. And a friend said to me, why? What does it matter? Like, what's the worst outcome?
Are they good eaters now?
Yeah, they're great eaters now. Like, there's stuff they don't like. But my parents made me eat at the table. They stuffed it into my face. They put it in the fridge for the next meal. But I've still turned out a really fussy eater. So
It's all about the personality.
so maybe it's a bit of nature, not necessarily all nurture.
I think they're going to be what they're going to be. You know, if they're going to be fussy eaters, they're going to be fussy eaters. As long as, you know, everyone likes the food their mums give them.
Yep.
And I think, you know, they will eventually like the food you give them.
Yeah, but I think also you need to your kids need to branch out and be able to try all sorts of different
But they
foods.
do.
Especially
They do,
in a
and I think they'll
multicultural
get there.
country.
True.
I think they'll get there when they can. And just to give you some peace of mind, Professor Karen Campbell, who's one of Australia's leading experts on child nutrition, says food guidelines are less about being realistic and more about identifying best outcomes possible. So I hope that helps you relax. But as always, if you do have ongoing concerns, consult a nutritional expert. Well, are you curious about the ketogenic diet? Do you even know what it's all about? Well, Gia and Kendra are here to share how it all works.
So, Kendra, can you tell us a little bit about the ketogenic diet?
Sure. So the ketogenic diet is typically very low carb, very high fat and moderate protein. So you could have anywhere between 15 to 50 grams of carbohydrates only a day.
And what's behind that? So what are the pros and cons of this ketogenic diet?
In the ketogenic diet, instead of your body fueling itself using glucose, it ends up using fat for energy. So you literally burn fat for energy. So you end up losing weight. So very popular weight loss diet. It's also very useful for blood sugar regulation.
Okay.
So particularly if you're heading towards diabetes, if you're pre-diabetic, if you're insulin resistant, it's a very useful diet to use.
Okay, so it actually can help. It has some good benefits.
Yeah, you're cutting out all those carbs, those sugars, so definitely useful for your blood sugar regulation.
Okay, because some people also do the fasting for keto. Is that connected? You know how some people try to do a fast, like a morning fast, and then they believe their body goes into ketosis. And how does that all work? Is that...
Yeah, so you can definitely couple intermittent fasting with the ketogenic diet. So just starting to eat a bit later or shortening your eating window can help to kickstart your body into ketosis.
Okay, so what are the clear benefits? What would you...
So I would go for it if you want to lose weight.
Okay.
If you have issues with blood sugar regulation or you're heading towards type 2 diabetes, or perhaps if you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, it can be useful.
Oh, that's good to know because I've got polycystic ovarian syndrome.
But it also depends on the cause. So if it is related to your blood sugar levels, then it can definitely help. So those would be my major reasons. But there are also some cons to it because, you know, imagine only having up to 50 grams of carbohydrates a day.
Yes.
That's really hard, especially when you go out or you try to have fun with your friends.
Yes, absolutely. Getting out with the calculator, trying to figure out, have I had enough carbs or no carbs? Or
So it takes a lot of energy to calculate that you're having enough fat in a day, so it's going to take a lot of work, so you often have to see a practitioner or a dietitian to help.
Okay, so you're saying the ketogenic diet has some benefits?
Yes.
Especially for people with that struggle with their sugars in their bloods, like borderline diabetics. If they want to lose weight, it's good for people that want to lose weight. But I'm not sure if this is right, but you're saying also that it's not a long-term thing.
It might be difficult to sustain. Yeah.
Okay.
And also you may not have a lot of fibre because you wouldn't be having a lot of your fruits.
Yes.
So it can affect your gut microbiome or how often you're passing a stool.
Right. It's always a pleasure to listen to what you have to say and your knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Gia.
We'll see you next time.
When you match high creativity, passion and food, you get a culinary delight. And that's what we have for you today. Jacob Leung is a Sydney-based food stylist and recipe developer that is at the high end of the national food industry. But today he's helping out families at home by showing us that they can make food easy, quick and look very stylish. Jacob, welcome to Mums at the Table.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
I'm glad you're here, and I'm even more excited that you're actually going to be making something for us because we always want this and we don't get it. We don't get it enough, so I'm really excited. Now, you're creating a dessert today. What's it called?
It's a peppered pineapple Eton mess.
Okay, a peppered pineapple.
Don't say that one fast.
Don't say it quick.
Okay, I'm going to let you start,
Great.
but you're going to have to tell us how you got into the food industry to start with because you've got a real passion for it.
Yes, so I love food. I think everyone does love food, but for me, it's like my creative expression. So nothing better than just getting in the kitchen with some random ingredients and just putting some things together, which is actually one of these recipes, this one that we're doing today, is actually kind of one of those, just something quick, easy, and I guess it was kind of like not something that you're probably used to because of the pepper thing. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
So here, I'll start showing you.
I was going to say, we all do like food, but I don't necessarily like to make it.
Right, okay.
So for me, there's a big difference. That's why I'm excited about your passion and I'm excited to eat what you're making.
Okay, awesome. So today what we're doing is an Eton mess. So it's a bit of an old school type of dessert. So what we're doing is we're adding some flair, making it a bit new, a bit different. So what I did was I got a pineapple and I've just cut it up and then I've sort of put it on the stove and just added some brown sugar and vanilla. And then I've just...
Sounds great.
Yeah, that's just greatness. So if you could just eat this by itself. So I've just put that and I cooked it for about 20 minutes until it's gone caramelised. And then vanilla cream. Now, I love vanilla and I love cream. So this is such a good combo. So I've just lightly whipped that and then I'm just going to put that in my glass.
So how did you get into food? Do you have food people in your family?
Yeah, so my dad was actually a chef, but to be honest, that probably wasn't the biggest influence. I think for me, it was just a matter of going, I really just love getting in the kitchen. For me, it was a de-stressful time, like a de-stressful thing that I did. And just, I started on White Wings cake mixes as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, my kids
And
did
then from there, I've just kept on going.
So you think people overcomplicate food? What do you think we're doing that's overcomplicated?
We are definitely overcomplicating food. I think thinking that you need more means more flavour or being it more complex, it will taste better. It's actually quite different. It's like so the opposite. For me, it's about keeping it simple, keeping it quick and efficient, and it also can be cost effective as well. You don't need to have all random ingredients from around the world to make a family dinner. You can go to your local grocery market and have 6 ingredients and pull off one of the best dinners you can make. So the book was all about doing that, about getting people re-engaged with cooking at home and making sure it's really easy and simple. So I'm just going to show you what I've done here is I've just got some meringue. Now, of course, like we're talking about, we don't have time to make meringue. I don't know about you. No. So I just bought
I have time for this though.
So this is also a great de-stressor.
Should I stand back?
So this is a great de-stressor for any of the, people who are tired, stuck in traffic, getting home, agitated. And so I'm just going to...
way too keen.
Yeah, she's way too keen. And so I've just lightly crushed those. Just easy store-bought meringue.
I was going to say, that is not enough to de-stress.
I'm not...
No, they're not firm enough either.
But we've ruined the recipe. So.
Yeah, exactly. It depends how much texture you want. And I just add a couple of pieces of meringue into this.
See, that's looking pretty chefy already.
Yeah.
Isn't
It does.
You haven't done too much.
I haven't done... Oh, thanks a lot, Sean.
It's not all full.
No, totally. And that's just it. I think, we don't need to be intimidated by making good food at home. Like, you don't need to have, a recipe that's going to take take you 3 hours. And like, this is so simple, even for like, you know, you can have this as a weeknight like treat, or if you've got friends coming over.
Like that would be so easy for entertaining because you could make it ahead of time, chuck the meringue on the top and away you go for dessert.
So it takes the stress out of entertaining, which is what the book's all about. Now, just as a little bit of a twist, I've got some red peppercorns here.
Ooh,
now, people sometimes like, you're putting pepper with dessert. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. And don't judge it till you try it. So I'm just adding some whole pink peppercorns. If you try these, they're actually not as peppery as normal peppercorns would
They're
be.
a lot milder.
I've never tried them.
Very sweet, and just added some great texture,
And
but also
pink.
colour.
It looks
pretty. And then to finish it off, what I do just to make it look a bit fancy, and
We've got to have that, don't we?
you've got to have that because you want to impress. Like, I think food is also about impressing and being creative.
Yeah.
So to tell if your pineapple is ready, did you know all you need to do is pick one of the leaves and just see how it just came out?
Wow,
So
I didn't know that.
that means it's ripe. If you're pulling it, it doesn't mean it's actually ready. So I just grab a pineapple leaf and just put it in there and serve it up like that. Grab a spoon and then it's done. So such a simple dessert that will only literally take you like 20 minutes plus all this other little
And
things.
you could even Insta that.
So instant
Because you're on Instagram, aren't you, Shona? Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so what are some tips that we can give to mums, dads at home who do the cooking, who come to the kitchen that night? What am I going to make that my kids will eat that is simple and quick, that's not going to take up too much time? Like, how do they go through that process? Because for me, that's the biggest mental battle of my day. What am I going to cook tonight? I don't want to have a fight with the kids. What are they going to eat? That sort of thing. That goes through my head.
Yes.
Too much.
So I think it's a matter of like, what do you already have? Always think about your staples that are already in the cup. Things like pasta, tomato sauce, and then thinking like, what else is in the bottom of the fridge? Like, what is still like edible? That because I'm all about, you know, I've seen
floating in soup.
Yes,
You've got fluff growing on it.
Yes, it's
But then
about
you've got to
using
make
those
it look
things.
reasonable, otherwise no one's going to want to eat
That was
it.
my
And that's the
Exactly.
Do you
challenge.
think that's what I'm doing wrong? Like, do you think I'm not plating up correctly?
You know what? Everybody eats with their eyes first. And I think that's something that we don't think about at home. We think, I've just made this dish and now eat it. It's actually, if you put more thought into how this is going to look for your family, I think people are like, oh, there's a lot of effort gone into this one dish for me. People appreciate the food so much more before they even put it in their mouth. So that's something that I would say is something like to really get people engaged.
Do you think shows like MasterChef and the like have made it better for home cooks or worse?
I think it's probably made it a little bit more intimidating for home cooks. But in the same way, I think MasterChef has been amazing because it's reinvigorated Australians to get back into the kitchen and get creative.
Get cooking from scratch. Shona and Julie, I've got to ask, were you the mums that sort of cut out your sandwiches into different shapes, or did you make caterpillars or anything like that?
Sandwiches, but I do faff a bit with food, and I used to get the kids to come in and dish up and, you know, sprinkle the cheese and do all of that sort of stuff.
My kids will see me serve something now and they go, you've been watching MasterChef.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to just stand here and look at this. I think we need to get into this.
I just made one for me, so I'm sorry. No. Here's something I prepared earlier. Very famous.
You can come back now.
So here we go.
Well, we've actually, I'll let our viewers know, we've actually got 5 of Jacob's cookbooks up for grabs. So if you do want a copy, you'll need to write to us. hello@mumsathetable.com. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate this. I can't wait to dig in. Ladies, always a pleasure, never a chore. Great that you could be with us today. We will see you next time with more Parenting Pickles. Bye for now.